Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and I'm joined this afternoon by Chris McElwain to try and unpack an incredible first half at Tynecastle. Chris, we are a goal down. We're a man down. We've missed a penalty. We've given away a dubious penalty. There's been 2 goals chopped off in that first half. Let's not forget Ida and obviously Shanklin. We're going to be talking about the whole lot. I tell you what a game in the first half. And you know, other than that moment when Iwata loses the ball and Hearts score what you think is a goal that's going to end the game, because, I mean, we've seen it, for example, in Europe, going down to 9 or 10 men. It's unsurmountable if you're going 2-0 down, going into half-time. He's offside. That's fair play. Let's start off with a Celtic penalty. The big fella, Ida. We were talking about him before the game, and the penalty saved, and that's we're talking about moments, Chris. That's a moment, and it's an opportunity that we missed.
Look, it can happen to the best players, right? They've got a penalty miss in them. With that said, you put your house on, you just score in that. I thought the penalty was a little bit soft. I'll be honest. I'll try and be as balanced as possible. I thought it was a wee bit of a soft penalty, but looking at it from there was one angle which kind of showed the Hearts player, I think it was Cochrane, and he looked so he just clipped the bottom of Yang's foot, and Yang's went down. So I think, you know, could have went either way in terms of the penalty, but you've got to take those. You know, it's like we're talking about with the Rangers result yesterday. We've got an opportunity in this game where a penalty with 11 men on the park. We've got to take that opportunity, and it's what we spoke about earlier: mentality, discipline. You know, rising up to the occasion, being a leader on the park, and unfortunately that one just didn't go our way. So really, really disappointing. But at the same time, you think, okay, we've created the opportunity with the penalty. I thought we were playing pretty well at that point. We looked as though we were getting into the game. You know, good play down the wings. I thought refereeing decisions started, which I'm sure we'll get to, but I thought they started off really poor. And there was a tackle O'Reilly made in the first few minutes.
Oh, perfect tackle.
You know, I'd imagine Roy Aitken would have been praising that to the hilt if he'd been watching it. Yeah. Tremendous tackle. And I think Chris Sutton said on the Sky commentary, what's he supposed to do? You know, he's won the ball.
Where's the offence?
Where's he got to go? And I also thought, there's Cochrane, a player who had filled Yang, I think, at least 2 or 3 times, one of which should have been a clear yellow card, if not a red. And then Yang, okay, look, I know you can't raise your boot that high, but the ball was so close. For me, there was no intent to harm the player. Reckless, yeah. Yellow card, probably. Red card, nah. Sorry, not for me.
We're going to be talking about all these things because I don't think the referees have covered themselves in glory. Anyone in the comments section who thinks that's a surprise, let me know. And yeah, with regards to the Celtic penalty, I get what you mean with regards to it being soft. I think from one angle, I'm saying it's a penalty all day long. You see it from behind the goal and you start to question it. But listen, you take it. We've got to then capitalise on it. There's a wee bit of criticism about the taking off such penalties. We've missed 5 from the last 10. That's a terrible stat. That's a shocking stat.
Record.
By the way, it's not dig it either. That's internally we've not been good enough from 12 yards from the spot. And the Kurgan, we can still win this. Listen, I'm feeling exactly the same. I predicted 2-1 and that we'd go behind. I didn't want to go behind. I don't want to be right, but I still think we can win it. I do want to be right in the final score. I just didn't want to go behind because it's no good for the nerves. We haven't sat back. Absolutely not. We've created good chances. This is how champions are made. And I think that the importance of Ida's goal and bringing it up, even though it was shown to be offside. Sorry, Maeda scored the goal eventually. Ida was offside. Is the fact that we were down to 10 men and we were still creating chances. We were still cutting through them. And yeah, he was well offside and all the rest of it. But I do think that the passage of play that followed that showed that we can still create chances. Even at the very death there, Greg Taylor zips in a cross. If it's in front of Ida, he might connect it. You know, so I'm not concerned in that respect. It's not as if we've been rotten in that first half, Chris.
No, we've created chances. And look, we've had to soak up some pressure as well, which is understandable when you go down to 10 men. But I thought there were passages of play. I think Johnson put one in, similar to the Taylor one to Ida, and it was really well defended by Hearts, but it was a cracking low whipped cross from deep. And I thought, God, we got on the end of that. That's us. And so we are creating chances. I think we're having to adjust our play to play more on the counter now. What I said earlier in the game, that Hearts are flooding midfield, I think you can see that, right? You can see the effect of Forrest playing off Shankland, and we've struggled a wee bit to deal with that. But what we need now is we need to take things out of the hands of the referees, out of the hands of VAR. Let's keep our discipline. Let's try and get a shape that allows us to play to our strengths. If it means we have to soak up pressure, away from home, down to 10 men against, a team that, other than, shipping 5 at Rangers, have actually been on reasonably good form, then, that's what we're going to have to do. You don't become champions by winning every game easily. We need to show a bit of mettle, show a bit of mental strength here. And look, would we take a draw? Get 70, 80 minutes, maybe. I would like to see us go on and just have a go. Have a go. These are the moments that make you heroes. Have a go at it.
Yeah, I think you've got to. CJ comes in. We're talking about the penalty missed by Ida here. Arrogance, reckons CJ, trying to be too clever. If he scored that penalty, Yang doesn't get sent off. Yeah, I know. It's moments, sliding doors. It is this moment. And I want to talk about Yang. Fully praised for Yang for a game and a half. He looked as if he was going to carry that on this afternoon at Tynecastle. He did. He looked fully intent. A couple of movements down the right-hand side with him and AJ, and I just thought, yeah, he's on it. He's managing to soak up the pressure, the toxic atmosphere that we spoke about before the game. And then he flicks his boot up. The referee thinks it's a yellow. He gets called over to VAR. The minute he gets called over, you know what's happening. You know what's coming, right? And at that point, you're thinking, you're angry, you're frustrated. You're looking at Yang thinking to yourself, it is too high. It is too high. And I think there's people on the comment section maybe saying it was harsh. I just think it's one of these things. If you do it, here we go. Powerman 1988 goes back to what you said before. If you give them that decision to make, then you're running that risk. Stupid challenge from Yang, definitely. It was stupid because the ball's going nowhere. He's more or less keeping the ball in play. That's all he's doing. Do not think that should have been a penalty to Hearts, mind. We'll come to that in a second as well. So I'm disappointed with Yang. I seen after that, I spoke to a coach a couple of weeks ago who said that Brendan Rodgers is great when we go down to 10 men. That's when he really starts to show his mettle and his masterclass. And I think we're getting people in here now. Personal Jesus, for example, we need a Brendan Rodgers tactical masterclass here. It looked to me simplistically that when we were attacking, we went 4-3-2. When we were defending, it was 4-4-1. And even sometimes it was Ida back for corners, etc. He won a header. What does he do at half time with regards to the fact that we're down to 10?
It's a difficult one. I think some of it will depend on Iwata's fitness. It looks as though he took a knock in that first half and he's struggling a wee bit. And I think he's a huge player for us at the moment because a lot of that pressure, we're relying on him to kind of sweep that up and soak that up. So my fear would be that we might have to replace Iwata. And we spoke about bringing Daniel Kelly on if we were in control. I don't know if I'd put the young boy into this atmosphere just now, but then again, maybe this is a point where heroes are made. Maybe he'll step up and do a job. I think initially what we're going to have to do is continue to soak up a bit of pressure here. Look for our opportunities to play the ball wide. Try and get those deep crosses in that we saw from Taylor and Johnson. Ida, I think, is a good focal point. His movement's decent and he can hold off a challenge. He's got decent movement. Give him opportunities. I think he will score. One option, if it's not going our way by 60 minutes, is I would change Bernardo, who I don't think's had the biggest influence on the game again. I would change him and I'd put Kyogo on. And I'll justify why I say that, because a lot of people say, no, Kyogo's not a midfielder. What Kyogo demonstrated, even through some of the games we weren't playing great, he's got the ability to carry the ball. He can carry the ball into danger areas. He can make something happen with his movement, with his intelligence, and his ability to carry the ball and beat a couple of players. If he can carry that ball to the edge of the box or there or thereabouts, there's always a chance you get a penalty. There's always a chance you get deflection, a chance that someone picks up the second ball and scores. And I think we need that invention. Now, I think it's the point where we might need that invention. Wouldn't necessarily do it at half time, but I think if we can maintain the 1-0 to Hearts, and avoid going down to 2-0, I would think about, okay, let's go for the at least equaliser and hopefully the win. So I would use Kyogo.
I don't think that's something that is beyond the realms, to be fair. And of course, it's going to be decided after Iwata's fitness has been appraised. And I think that even Iwata for Kyogo isn't beyond the realms, because you then look at Bernardo and say, right, you're now the defensive, you're the defensive mid, and then Kyogo works between that block of players on the forward line. And I think that his work rate would be massive to us in the second half. Bernardo's not had a great half. I totally agree with that. And at this moment in time, you might then look at the young guy, Kelly, and I know what Rodgers is like. You know, he sometimes does that. He'll throw a player in and just say, right, sink or swim. So we'll see what happens at halftime if there are any changes. But in terms of the shape, it may have to be forced upon him. I do want to talk about the Hearts penalty, because I just think if this is where we are with football now, it's an absolute disgrace. It is the only thing that is separating the sides at the moment. This is why it's so pivotal, of course. And when I'm watching it, right, so you've got Alistair Johnston and Iwata both mid-air. They're in the process of trying to win a header, right? They're both facing in a different direction. And their bodies clash. AJ's body clashes with Iwata, which sends him, right, without any ability for him to do anything mid-air, it sends him forward. And your natural reaction is to do that, right? He's not facing the ball. So this is Bernabé style against Dundee United a couple of seasons ago, beginning of last season. He's not facing the ball ricochets off his arm. How on earth? Now, if we're talking about silhouettes, natural positions, that is his natural position, having collided mid-air with one of his players. Chris, how's that a penalty?
It's not. It's a manipulated movement. He's been pushed, by his own player, granted, but he's been pushed. He's putting his arms out in the defensive motion that you do. I'm no body language expert, but that's what you do. He's off balance. He's falling forward, so his arms are out and he's facing away from the ball.
It's impossible for him to do anything else.
What are you supposed to do? And listen, I'm sorry for bringing him up, but I think it is an important point. I heard Clement for Rangers make a point. He said, "Do we want players to be running about like penguins, right, with their arms at their sides?" That's not football. I'm sorry, it's not.
Ralston does that, doesn't he? Ralston does the old arms. How can you do the split second mid-air, Chris? It's impossible for that process to go through any footballer's mind and, bring their arms to their side. That's not going to happen. It's never a penalty.
It's ridiculous. No, never a penalty. And look, I know we people talk about bias and they talk about conspiracy. Do you know what I see? I just see incompetence. I just see incompetence for the referees. Utter incompetence. No consistency. Different interpretations of the rules. Rules that are made by people who I don't think have played a game of football in their entire life. I tell you, I wanted to beat Hearts before the match. I'm desperate for us to get something. If just to show that defiance over what I think has been one of the most horrendously incompetent refereeing performances I've seen in a while. And look, I appreciate people may say, well, we got away with one at the end there with the Shankland offside. Well, the fact is it was offside, right? I mean, VAR's doing its job. Wasn't the offside by much? We were very, very lucky to get away. But the fact is it was offside. But some of those decisions in the first half, even down to challenges, second challenges, allowing the offside goal to carry on at great risk to our players getting injured. I mean, there's either running up, trying to score the ball. Well, Hearts players are going to go and make a tackle, even though the play should be stopped. Well, who thought that was a good idea? It's insane. And the penalty, it's Bernabé Mark II, isn't it? It's the Bernabé one from early in the season, Mark II. VAR, for me, I'm sorry, all you're doing is you're putting an incompetent referee behind a screen instead of on the pitch. That's all.
Well, it's frustrating for me because obviously it's what separates the sides. Iwata, I'm sorry, it's impossible for him to do anything with his arms mid-air. We're getting to the point where you're making it a bit of a laughing stock. If you think a footballer, right, who's not even facing play, is able to do anything in that scenario, it's just a joke. And Michael Ross agrees, no way, that was a penalty, no chance. Michael H, we have let ourselves be in a position that referees will decide where the league goes, potentially. And we know it won't be in our favour, absolute joke. Potentially, you're right. And I think in the second half, we go into this game, and I said, I'm not going to panic, even if we go a goal down, Chris, and I'm not. But we're a man down as well, which obviously exaggerates the whole issue, aggravates rather the whole issue somewhat. And I think going into the second half, anything can happen. a breakaway where they get a man sent off. Anything can happen. So, it's still what we play for. I think that second goal would have been a killer. It would have been. Just before half-time, that second goal would have been a killer. Iwata, really poor. You've got the boys screaming for the ball. You dilly-dallied on it. You doubted yourself. I don't know if the injury had a part to play. If it gets hooked at half-time, I might come back and apologise for this, but he was poor in losing the ball. Forrest, I thought, timed it brilliantly. I thought Shankland had timed it perfectly. Thank God it was offside. Right. So we're going to the second half, Chris, and hopefully we're able to pull it back. It's going to be sweet.
Listen, my prediction's still on. 5-1 could still happen.
Let's hope so. I'll take anything. Right. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved. Over 2,000 on the half-time bulletin. Let's go back to the action and join us at full time, where hopefully Celtic are able to pull this one back. All that's left for me, Double Denim, Chris McElwain. Thank you for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.